Hi everyone, this is Kevin Burnotts of Dr. Beernuts Development. We're going to look at a GMT P500 game called The Lion of Judah. It is by Javier Romero, who's done other games like the Spanish Civil War, among others. And relatively moderate to low complexity game, includes standard components. Right now we're looking at 2 to 3 different scenarios. The first scenario is the Italian invasion of Ethiopia in 35, and then there's the Commonwealth liberation in 40, and we're actually looking where the result of the 35-36 scenario can impact the setup of the 40-41 scenario. Basically, the better the Italians do, the less Ethiopian guerrillas will be there in the later scenario, for example. So let's look at how the 35-36 scenario plays out. So in the beginning you have basically two fronts. In the northern front you have the strongest Italian forces coming from Eritrea, but you also have the majority of the Ethiopian tribes and the more difficult terrain. Specifically, there's two ambas, or mountaintop strongholds, and these are important hexes because they're each worth 6 victory points, and the Italian tactical victory is 12. So if the Italian takes those and has no other negative victory points, then they will achieve a tactical victory. So this encourages the Ethiopian player to really make a fight for these hexes and potentially make sure that the Italian loses steps. And because the more steps the Italian player loses, the more negative victory points they will incur for that. In the south, coming from Italian Somaliland, is a weaker Italian force, but they also face a small number of tribes. That's also poor defensive terrain. However, there are no real victory points in this area. None in the area shown. All the victory points in the south are a little bit above this graphic. There are victory points. You get 1 victory point for killing an Ethiopian leader, but that is often harder or easier said than done, especially in the south, where the Italians just don't have a lot of combat strength. And especially true that noting that there's no socks in this game. So if the Italians don't keep a solid line, they risk having the Ethiopians sort of run behind them and cause havoc, and they really don't want to let that happen. So sequence of play, basically fairly standard. You have an admin phase in the beginning where you get reinforcements, can motorize units, build roads, etc. And followed by an event phase, and then the first player moves and the second player moves. In this scenario, the Italian is the first player and the Ethiopian is the second player. So let's look at the north front. I skipped the first turn, which basically just consists of the Italian player moving up, maybe taking a speed bump or two. And you can see their reinforcements have come in at Massawa, which is the port near Asmara up north in Eritrea. And they have moved forward, and one of the key aspects of this game is supply. Basically, the supply range is 2 X's to a headquarters, or 3 X's to a road. If you trace to a headquarters, then the headquarters can do the 3X path. One important thing though is you can't trace supply past an amba or adjacent to an ambex, even if you occupy that hex. So it really requires the Italian player to take those ambas if they're going to push south. So after reinforcements are placed, they draw a random event. In this case it was foreign weapons. But what that does is allows the Ethiopian player to place 2 RP markers, or resource point markers, and these allow the Ethiopian player to generate column shifts, both either on attack or defense. So after the Italian player has moved, you can see they've set up a couple attacks, 3 attacks in the north. I've designated how the HQs would support, but HQs really don't have to declare until after combat odds are revealed. You'll see that the Ethiopian units are question marks, and they are even question marks to the Ethiopian player. The Ethiopian player is not allowed to look to see what their strengths are. In addition, there's Fog of War, where you're only allowed to inspect the top unit of a stack. So this really means the current player doesn't necessarily know what the defense is going to be in each individual hex, and neither does the Ethiopian in many cases. In the south, we have the Italians bringing in 2 reinforcements and then slowly moving up. And the purple line, you'll see that these reinforcements brought in the black shirt divisions, black shirt units. They actually used force march. That's something available to European units, so Italians, the black shirt units, the Commonwealth units in the 40 to 41 scenario. Allows them to double their movement factors, but if they move in enemy nation, so if they move in Ethiopia, for example, for the Italians, they have a risk of taking step losses. Now, following the path of the Wabis, so the asterisks, you actually can force march without having to risk losing any units or any steps. So that's why they force marched where they did. So let's look at some combats. So we're going to look at the combats in the north. So this first one, you have 2 hexes attacking the 1 Ethiopian, which when it's revealed, it's only a 1 strength unit. So the max odds are 7 to 1. They roll 4, 0 to 3, so 0 losses to the attacker, 3 to the defender, and kills the Ethiopian unit, and the Italians advance. The next combat. Before the combat, the Italians decide to use an air unit to bombard. So what air units they can be used to provide supply, they can do column shifts, or they can bombard. So by bombarding, it allows the Italian unit to maybe kill a step or 2 in the hex before you calculate combat odds. However, it didn't roll well enough, so it did not have any effect. And when they review the Ethiopians, they actually have 10 strength, so that the initial odd of 37 to 10 or 3 to 1. The Italian player commits a second air unit for ground support in addition to using an HQ, so they'll have 2 shifts in their favor. The Ethiopian gets 2 shifts simply for being in an AMA, and then they also spend their resource point for a 3rd shift, so the net odds are going to be 2 to 1. The roll is a 3, which is 1 each. So the Ethiopian player doesn't mind so much because he's started to inflict step losses on the Italian player. For air units, they're not indestructible, especially this era. So for every air unit that's used, it has to roll to see if it's available the next turn. For a bombardment, if it's a 5 or 6, basically is lost for 1 turn. All other air units just on 6. In this case, the Italian player rolls fine for both air units, and they both will be available for next turn. So the last attack sees 2 hexes attacking this 3 units of Tafari, and the odds end up being 5 to 1, minus 1 for mountain, plus 1 for HQ support, so net 5 to 1. The Italian player rolls well and eliminates all of the Ethiopian units with a 0-3 plus R. So the plus R is sort of a bonus attack. It's a recon attack. It allows the attacker to attack again with 1 stack of units. Now, in this particular case, the Italian player declines because, back up a little bit, he declines because he really doesn't have a good attack. So this is the end of the Italian player movement, and we go to the Ethiopian portion of the turn. For the Ethiopian player, they don't get to just move everyone, they must roll for each leader individually to see how well it activates. And there's basically a range of no activation to full activation, and they can't walk or enter any hexes that are occupied by other Ethiopian units. So they're very restricted on what they can do. And there's certainly some criticality to the order that the Ethiopian player activates his leaders. So first he chooses Ras Seim. He rolls a 3, which is a half activation. So half of the units can only move 1 hex and not attack. The other units can move full, and if they choose to attack. Ras Seim only has 3 or 4 units, so they're really not going to do much attacking. So they fall back. Next, they activate Ras Casa, and the Italian player actually spends one of their RPs to bribe the Ras, and that results in a -1 DRM. The Ethiopian player rolls and gets no activation, so they choose to just leave him in the Amba hex. I actually have both of these shown in here, but the red tribe, the Showa tribe, is activated next. They get a full activation, and then Ras Imru rolls a 6, which generates a tactical surprise result, which basically gives full activation and a +1 DRM on any combats. So they choose to attack the adjacent SL division. The odd ended up being 10-7. You can see in the stack of Ras Imru attacking, just missing the 3-2 column. However, because the Ethiopians are, they attack primarily hand-to-hand, and they know the terrain better, the only terrain effects that apply against the Ethiopians are if they're attacking an Amba, trying to retake it, for instance, or if they're attacking across a river. In addition, if they attack from a mountain or Amba, they get a +1 DRM. So in this particular case, they're going to have a net +2 DRM because the tactical surprise and attacking from an Amba. They roll a modified 7, which actually generates a 1-1 result, which, again, the Ethiopians are happy that has another Italian step loss, and they lose a single Ethiopian unit. Now, if the Ethiopians succeed in attacking and inflicting a step loss on the Italians, on whatever front that successful attack was conducted in, actually gets bonus reinforcement the next turn. So the tribes are happy. They're more inclined to send all their soldiers to the front to help out. And so, because of that, essentially the one lost step is going to be negated by the extra reinforcement. And we increased the Italian step. So you noticed it was at 0, even though the Italians had a step loss in the previous turn. And that's because they took the step loss on a Italian colonial, so one of their sort of hired help. And those do not count for Italian loss steps. But in this case, the only unit that was available to take the step loss was the Italian unit, and so the step must be an Italian step that is lost. So at the end of the Ethiopian movement, this is their lines. They sort of set up as best they can, trying to hold the Ambas. And let's look at what the south looks like. So again, they've established a solid line, and they're basically sort of waiting to see what the Italians are going to do. So that is where I stopped for this video, but the next video will do some more of the turn, and we'll see where else how the scenario plays out. Thank you.